Hi there people, how's it going? This is Cross the Rubicon channel. Well, I'm back after a 7-day ban for what I thought was a very benign video, but they banned me anyway. I don't know why. I dare say it's got something to do with the man who launched his book a couple of weeks ago, where my name is all over it. And if I say his name anywhere on social media, I will be facing a $5,000 fine or 6 months in jail. How is that for fairness in New Zealand? Completely fair here, because he is on the left, I am on the right, the far right, according to him, and mainstream media have labelled me conveniently in New Zealand. Anyway, I'm back on, see how long this video lasts. Tucker Carlson. Now, I believe Tucker Carlson of Fox News is the best anchor. I've said it before, the best anchor there is anywhere in the world at the minute, and he is taking some real risks at the minute, and he's exposed in the past few days a video that's been hidden, and now it's come to light, of the 6th of January over 2 years ago in the Capitol building in Washington DC, where apparently some kind of insurrection, a riot took place, and 6 policemen, apparently that's what the Attorney General says in the United States, 6 policemen were killed, over 100 assaulted, blah blah blah. And apparently nothing of the sort happened. One policeman apparently passed away later of a heart attack, but according to the Democrats and the legacy or the mainstream media in the United States, including the media in New Zealand and everywhere else, the police officer that passed away of a heart attack was beaten to death by a fire extinguisher. Now, in the recently released video footage, there's a bloke who apparently led the charge into the Capitol building. I forget his name now, but he's ex-Navy, US Navy, and he's QAnon shaman, or shaman QAnon, either. He was the one that wore the horned hat, and you can quite clearly see him on the video that Tucker Carlson has just released. And it's gone viral because everyone's talking about it and how disgusting Tucker Carlson is for releasing this video of the police literally escorting him. Well, not even really escorting him, but walking with him, having a chat with him. The police had guns and they were walking casual. They were opening doors for him, casual as you like. There was one particular part of the video where there was riot police, if you like, suited up, all armed, and he walks right past them, and they make way for him. That's 6 of them, and all up there's about 6 or 8, and they could have took him to the floor at any time. But apparently he led the charge, this bloke. He led the insurrection, and now he's doing 4 years in jail. So it suits the Democrats and many Republicans as well to tell lies of what happened on the 6th of January and make it much worse than it actually was. Republicans with a very, very small r. Mitt Romney is one of them. Many others. Mitch McConnell, quite a few others. I know for New Zealanders, I know they don't know a lot about American politics, but I follow it. And but these are rhinos, Republicans in name only, and they're much the same as Democrats. They are Democrats, only they call themselves Republicans, and they are all anti-Trumpers. Can I say that on YouTube? Anti-Trumpers? We'll see. But they are never Trump Republicans, and they had to make this event so bad and make it look so bad by not releasing the real footage and putting possibly, allegedly, I've got to say allegedly, putting infiltrators into the crowds to urge them to go into the state capital. And Antifa as well, who did cause a bit of trouble and made it look like they were Trump supporters. Who knows? But I believe that's more than true. That's just my opinion. Because they don't want Trump to ever be able to run again in the United States as president. Me personally, I know a lot of people disagree now, but I still hope Trump runs again in 2024, and I hope again that he wins. I also hope that Biden gets a nomination too. Well, who knows what will happen again, because we all know what happened last time, don't we? So, Tucker Carlson, is he going to survive? Is he going to survive this onslaught by these Democrat and Republican politicians in Congress who are calling for his head, and not in a literal sense, although some might want that, but they want his show to be shut down. Because why? Because Tucker Carlson is by far the best anchor on the planet. It's a bit like the British version of Tucker Carlson. There is no New Zealand version, by the way. But the British version was Mark Steyn. And funny enough, Mark Steyn was a stand-in for Tucker Carlson 2, maybe 3 years ago. I remember that, because I've followed Tucker Carlson for a long time, just after Bill O'Reilly disappeared from Fox News, and that was the rise of Tucker Carlson. Anyway, Mark Steyn got kicked off GB News. Because why? Because he says much the same thing as Tucker Carlson, albeit in a British way, talking about British issues. So he was removed. So one would have to say or believe that the men who control the world, the unelected leaders of the world, you know, the men that meet at Davos every year, and the chairman of the WEF, I better not mention his name because I mentioned him on the last video, and well, look what happened. I've got to be careful what I say. But Western nations, right now, all Western nations, are not being ruled, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but they're not being governed, governed's probably a better word, by the people. They're not being elected, how can I say, they're not being governed by the people who democratically elect them into power to govern. I believe these people are selected, not elected, put in power, and then they take their orders from these people, especially the chairman of the WEF in Davos. And they are all doing it in unison, and they are doing lots and lots and lots of things to destroy their own nations. And by destroying their own Western nations, Western democracies, what were once free Western democracies, that's arguable whether they were ever free, but anyway, but now they're less free than ever. I'm sure of that. And there's so many things coming at us all at the same time. You look what is happening in schools now with these cross-dressing transgenders going to schools and libraries everywhere in the West all at the same time. It's funny, isn't it, don't you think? All happening at the same time. Story time in libraries, in cities and in schools for toddlers, and parents taking their children to watch a man dressed as a woman very provocatively dancing, telling stories, and they're all clapping. Canada, the United States, UK, Australia, New Zealand. Why is it all happening at the same time? And I believe it's all being orchestrated by the same people who give orders to prime ministers and presidents. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I think I'm bang on the button. And the reason I think I'm bang on the button is because I get seriously shadow banned by where you're watching this video now. And there are people who watch my videos who complain to YouTube and get me shut down all the time. And why is that? Why is that? It's because they're Marxists and they are all in the same belief of their philosophy is not to debate, but to shut down and destroy. That's what they believe in. It's like this bloke, I'm not even sure if that's a right word really. This, whatever he is, whatever he, she, is, it, whatever, is, that wrote a book a couple of 3 weeks ago, published it in New Zealand, with my name and others, Kawasaki, Damien Dement, Counterspin, Carl Bromley, many others, all through that book, but my name is very prominent. His book was promoted by the media for weeks and weeks and weeks before that book was launched by the media of New Zealand, because they want to drive a narrative that there's a far right issue in New Zealand. Far right in New Zealand, like far right anywhere now, the same again in all Western nations. Far right is somebody who believes in the nation state, somebody who believes in less government, someone who believes in less government interference, less taxes, looking after one's own country before anyone else's. Charity begins at home, if you like. People also who believe that mass migration should be controlled, and if you want people coming into your country, you want the best, not the worst. Control your borders. So if you want to control your borders and you want a real conservative nowadays, if you want a conservative government now, you know, I'm 56 years old. Someone like Margaret Thatcher, who I wasn't a fan of when I was a kid, but God, I wish she was back. Someone like Margaret Thatcher or Ronald Reagan. Donald Trump was the latest. If you believe in them, then you're a far right white supremacist, and that's the narrative. That's the narrative they drive. And the media in New Zealand, you've got this, what are they called? The Disinformation Project, and people like Kate Hanna. Well, I can't mention this bloke, the one who's just wrote a book. I can't mention his name, obviously, because, well, $5,000 fine or 6 months in jail. I don't really fancy doing that for a bloke like that. But that's New Zealand. But anyway, that's the fairness of it. No recourse for people like me. But yeah, Kate Hanna, and that bloke, and I think he's either Sri Lankan or Indian. They are the face of a disinformation project. And these people, honestly, they're not full quids. They're not full quids at all. They're absolutely insane. But that's it. That's the satanic inversion of the Western Hemisphere right now. Satanic inversion, where good is bad and bad is good. What was once weird or taboo is now to be celebrated and promoted. That's where we are. That's where we are everywhere. All Western nations, in order to destroy all nations. All of us, I would say a great majority of the people watching this video right now have, you know, whether it's to do with this, mostly this, have lost family members, not in a literal sense, but family members have been ripped apart by their beliefs. You know, you're either for or you're against, or you've decided not to, or you've decided to. Rip families apart. And, you know, people have lost jobs, people have lost careers, people have lost friends, communities ripped apart, where people who have been pointing the finger at people who haven't. And you know, coffee shops, cafes, whatever. They decided to discriminate. I've got to watch my words. They decided to discriminate against people who didn't, and now they're losing business because those people won't go back there again. You know, people fired from the jobs. I told you before. I mean, I was fired from my job for making a satire video in New Zealand, and the person I made a satire video of was a Maori, so that was it. It was over for me. Life destroyed, and that's fair in New Zealand. That's fair. But you know, families ripped apart. They are ripped apart, and that's the whole point of Marxism, communism, if you like, globalism. And if you're not a globalist nowadays, if you're not a Marxist, that means you're a N-A-Z-I, as good as. That's what they're trying to imply. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy world we live in. And these politicians, the same politicians who are wanting, not in a literal sense, Tucker Carlson's head on a platter, no doubt Neil Oliver as well on GB News. His days have got to be numbered too. Mark Stein's gone. But that's what they want to do. They don't want debate. They don't want the truth. They want to control the narrative, control the information people get. And people who tell the truth, like Tucker Carlson, Neil Oliver, Mark Stein, on a much smaller scale, myself, they've got to shut down and destroy. For those of you outside New Zealand watching this video, the media in New Zealand, and according to this book a couple of weeks ago, and what the author of this book has been saying on the build-up to the launch of this book, said that I am the most dangerous extremist in New Zealand. Would you believe that? Not only extremist, but a white supremacist. And he's allowed to say that. If I was in the United States of America, I could sue him for millions. But here, no. When someone says that of the left, which he's far, far, far left, an absolute communist, Marxist, it's celebrated. And they pile on. They all pile on together. As I said just earlier, the video I made a year and a half ago, a bit more, a satire video, and it was a satire video. I wasn't calling for violence. I wasn't calling for... There was no racism, there was no blackface, there was no nothing. My life was destroyed for that video. Destroyed. Still destroyed. And still, they mention my name now. And, you know, it's affected me, of course it's affected me. Would it affect you? Of course it would. Most people would have, well, a lot lesser people, and I'm not, no, that's the wrong word to use. A lot of people would have been pushed overboard and they wouldn't be here today if it happened to them. But only 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, there's a Samoan lady, an islander, Tuiata Avia, who made the most disgusting rant on video. It's a poem. She's a celebrated poet in New Zealand. Celebrated. She's even got a gong. And she sells places out where people go and listen to her talk her poems. In the media, she was promoted for reading this out. And it's the most disgusting, hate-filled poem you will ever read, ever. It was about Captain Cook. And how she wants to stick him and his descendants, basically, through the ribs with her father's pig hunting knife and kill him. His descendants she was talking about. And how she and her friends are going to drive around Christchurch in New Zealand. looking for white men to stick a knife in their ribs. And that is celebrated in New Zealand. And journalists, including John Campbell, were gushing. Oh man, that's so powerful. That's such a powerful poem. And she's talking about him. And people go to watch her and listen to her videos. Get easy. And listen to her talk and say this. White people, and they pay for the privilege of being insulted, where she threatens to murder their own menfolk. That's the mentality of here. I was destroyed for a satire video, non-threatening at all, destroyed, my whole life destroyed. And this woman is celebrated for a poem, and she says it on camera. Have a look, Tuiata Avia, have a look yourself, the Captain Cook video, Captain Cook poem, and you tell me if that is not a call for violent attacks against non-brown or black people in New Zealand. Satanic inversion is gripping not only New Zealand, but the whole of the Western world. Okay, I think I've said enough. Hopefully Tucker Carlson survives, Neil Oliver, Mark Stein, he's gone but he's got his own channel on YouTube, and myself and many others. And hopefully next year, late next year, I hope Donald Trump once again becomes the President of the United States. And hopefully in the 4 years he's got, because I don't think he can do 2 terms now because he's already done 1. I hope he really sorts these people out and brings them to justice. And that includes the people, the unelected people who unofficially rule the world. You know who they are, and they all meet in Davos every year. Okay, this is Cross the Rubicon. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, this one, and check out my channel on Telegram, Rubicon Resurrected, and share my videos everywhere. And remember, you've got to share them because I'm being heavily shadow banned by YouTube. That's the world we live in, isn't it? Okay, see you later.